Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Gabor Lukács. I'm the president of Air Passenger Rights, and this is the Sunday afternoon Air Passenger Rights update, our weekly or bi-weekly live Facebook show for questions, answers, everything you want to know and you don't want to know about air passenger rights. I hope that my team is hearing me good. I'm being told now by Dominic that audio and video is perfect. I would like to start with thanking the team, Dominic, Martin, Christine, and Terry, for another week that we got through, and their help that makes it possible for me to perhaps sometimes even get some sleep. Today's main topic will be a Twitter warrior, social media warrior training. I'm just maybe waiting for another half a minute just to see that people are on, and I'm being told that there is a very slight lag, but that doesn't surprise me. That's okay. But once I will be switching to a different window, it will be invisible. Hi, Janice. And if I can also get a reading from the team of how many people we have on, it will be great. It can give me a bit of indication on whether when we should start. I realize it also from teaching classes that although we have an official start time, in practice, people tend to join a little bit later. And in my 20-some years of teaching practice, that's one thing I didn't know how to overcome, to get students to show up exactly on time. That never happens. I'm being told we are now at 42, 46. All right. I think that there was a massive interest in the Twitter training. So I hope that even if you are not able to see it live, you will be able to later watch this video, and then it will be of some help to you. I see the numbers are rising, so I'm going to start right away and get to the Twitter training. When we're talking about Twitter, what we need to understand is what it is for and what we are trying to achieve. And a number of views proposed that perhaps we should have a demonstration before some airline office or some government office and show that we are not happy with what they are doing. What Twitter can achieve is something similar, but from the comfort of your living room, and actually to achieve more visibility and something that you can do from wherever you are in Canada or outside of Canada. So in Canada, Twitter seems to be the main social media platform for doing politics, for getting messages out there to decision makers, to politicians, to your member of parliament, and to the journalists who are following that, oh my God, member of parliament XY has all of a sudden received all these tweets in response to their comment. So what I would like to spend today's session on, at least a big chunk of it, is to talk about how we can most effectively use Twitter. Twitter can be used in many, many ways. And what gave me the inspiration is that last week I put out this call for creating videos and posting videos, and I'm so happy about how many of you already have done so. And it has been a great week in terms of social media advocacy. But I think that there's still a number of opportunities for us to improve and to become more efficient with the same amount of effort. So what we are going to cover today is just some of the basics of Twitter, with a particular focus on how to be efficient, how to efficiently use Twitter to not just have each of us scream our own message, but to have a joint amplified message in a manner that even for a cursory observer, someone who just comes across a comment, it becomes clear that those comments are not just by one or two people, but have a broad social consensus behind it. So without further ado, I'm going to switch to, I don't know why I will have to switch to the screen in which I'm doing Twitter, but right now it's showing me something else, so I will need to fix that. Just bear with me for a moment. Again, let's go here to this window. Yes, I think this now should be working. Hopefully it's not going to mess up. I'm going to put somewhere here. All right, so what you're looking at right now is Air Passenger Rights Twitter page. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So what you're looking at is Air Passenger's Twitter page, and maybe I need to. It's the first time I'm sharing things this way, so please bear with me here. I need to get a little bit more of the top. Quality there, done, and right, and make the window. Go. Okay. So I think now you can see it maybe a bit better. So what you're looking at now is Air Passenger Rights Twitter landing page. What I ask you to do is to have your Twitter account, if you already have one, open, because we are going to ideally do things that we can do together. So as we are going through this, we can also try it live and see how it works. So what I'm looking right now, I clicked here on profile and I'm looking at it on a desktop. This is my own timeline. These are all the tweets that I put out, including retweets, which we're going to talk about as well, plus some recommendations about who to follow, which I tend to ignore. I like to follow people whom I think I want to follow, not other people. The first thing that I would like to encourage you to do is to edit your profile. There are a number of things that you can change in your profile, which is worthwhile doing. One of them is your logo or your icon that which shows up for your page. It's right here, it's right this picture. I'm trying to click on it. So you can click on the logo. There's a plus sign there, and maybe I'm going to also bring in my mouse so you will be able to see it. Just it. Mouse. Okay. So now you will be able to see my mouse. This is where you can click to add a photo, and you can add some kind of bio, and don't add something too radical. That's the purpose is not that your text will draw attention, but rather that you will communicate where you are. If you have a website, you could add date of birth, although I wouldn't do it. It's personal information. The importance of adding this photo here is that generally people take tweets which have a photo for the person, an icon for the person affiliated with them, more seriously. So if you have not done so already, and I've seen already a number of great tweets, for example here, Louise Crawford's profile. This is great because when I hover over her tweet, I can see a small picture of her. I can see her some text. She says she's determined. I can see also some followers. This is a great profile. She already has a picture. Some of you have not yet had a picture or just added a picture. And when I'm looking at my notifications, now I'm clicking on notifications, these are the various tweets that I'm receiving where people, for example, tagged me, which we're going to talk about tagging in a moment. For example, from Luisa Carpino, it's a great tweet, but I don't see a picture for Luisa. In terms of impact, in terms of getting people to take us seriously and to put a face to where your money is, or to put a face where to what you're saying, it's very helpful to add photos. To have it has to be a simple profile. It could also be a photo of your favorite pet or anything which will make your profile a bit stand out. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is the notion of following on Twitter. On Facebook, which you are probably familiar with, we have this notion of friendship, of A is a friend of B, and then let's turn this. Okay, can you still hear me, and can you give me some feedback? I'm wondering if we lost the audio in part. Dominic is saying that you'll be lost audio, and I can quite see that. Okay, can you hear me now? I'm hoping that I put back now a different audio. I'm wondering what's happened. I will have to investigate that later on. Okay, now I switched to a different microphone. So, and what I'm looking at right now is the timeline, and by the way, you can see here as I'm pointing, more people, Ken Latham and Heather Stockley, they don't have their profiles, their profile pictures either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow now, for example, Heather Stockley. I'm clicking on follow. It is going to achieve two things. For Heather, she's going to get a message that now Air Passenger Right is following her. For me, it means that whenever Heather tweets out something, it is going to be showing up in my timeline. So that allows me to right away see what Heather is putting out and respond to it, react to it. What I would like you to ask to do first is to do a search for Air Passenger Rights and follow us. So if you look here under people, Air Passenger Rights will hopefully come up as the first item, and you will have an option to follow, and it is also, whenever you go to any person other than yourself, it is going to offer you the option to follow. I would like to ask you to follow Air Passenger Rights as a first step, so that anytime that we are putting out a tweet, you will be able to see that. That's the first step. And next, I would like to take you through a list of people that I recommend that you follow. I'm also going to put out maybe a subsequent tweet about it. But first of all, let's follow some people. And I know that it may come as a surprise, but the first person I would follow if I were you is Transport Minister Marc Garneau. Air Passenger Rights is being blocked by Minister Garneau, unfortunately, on Twitter. So this is actually a parody account someone created. It's not us and not them. But if I go to Garneau's actual Twitter profile, Minister Garneau is blocking Air Passenger Rights, and he may be also blocking you if you are systematically criticizing his views. But that's okay. We are going to deal with those things in due course. But I would suggest that you read up. This is the URL. I'm also going to post the URL of Minister Garneau's Twitter feed in this call, and I suggest that you follow him. Why? Because that allows you to respond to anything that Minister Garneau is going to put out. It's important. He's the Transport Minister. We may agree or disagree with him, but we need to know what he's saying, and we need to be able to also voice our opinions when we disagree with him in a respectful way, of course, but certainly be critical. The other person that I would urge you to follow is your MP, your member of parliament, your federal representative. So here in Halifax, it is Mr. Fillmore. So I'm going to search for Andy Fillmore, and here is Andy Fillmore. It's already showing up. I'm already following him actually, but if I weren't, say if I didn't follow him, the moment I'm unfollowing him, then I could click here on follow, and that way, every time Mr. Fillmore is putting out a tweet, it is going to be showing up in my timeline. There are an additional list of people that I recommend following at this stage. I would say NDP transportation critic Nikki Ashton. I'm already following her, but I would suggest that you follow her as well. Taylor Bachrach, who has been very active on the issue of refunds. He was asking some questions, as you may recall, just last week when Minister Garneau appeared in the Transportation Committee. Mr. Barcelou Duval, of course, he has been very active and very outspoken supporter of refunds for passengers. Follow him too. And then Mr. Todd Doherty, who is the transportation critic, shadow minister of transportation for the Conservative Party of Canada. And one more person that came to my mind, because I would like to have as broad of a list of people that we are interacting with as possible. Now this changed here. I'm going to, let me just fix it now. So I would like to have as broad of a list of people that we are following as possible. So I'm also suggesting that we follow Mr. Erskine Smith. You may remember that Mr. Erskine Smith was actually very positively commenting on the issue of passenger rights. He wrote a letter to Minister Garneau about it. And I would recommend that you add him to your list of people who are following. Additional organizations that I would add, but it's a matter of choice, is the Option Consommateur. They have done a lot of good work in the area of consumer rights and have been supporting our cause. And Transport Action. They are also a pro-consumer, pro-transportation group. But this is not everything. What is also important that you follow other people from this group. So if you have a way of sharing your Twitter handle with others that they can follow you, it is important, because the goal is to amplify each other's messages. The goal is not simply to have each of us stand on a barrel, a virtual barrel, in the middle of the park and scream. That would not be productive. The goal is to ensure that as many people who share the same view are able to express their support and their sympathy to what we are saying. And Helen is asking here, later please give us a list of important people to follow. Please show it in the Facebook group too. In the Facebook group it will be a bit harder, but I'm certainly, the same list I have here in front of me is going to be, I'm going to post about it probably after today's session. Sure, that's a great suggestion. The point is that this piece of information are valuable, and it allows you to interact more with other people. The purpose is to interact, not simply to be statically spitting out messages. Now, I'm going back to the timeline. I'm seeing here a number of people who followed me, and you can even see that Christine, who already has a profile photo, she captured my attention. Why? Because she has a profile photo. So I'm going to follow her, and I'm seeing here also, I'm also seeing Laurie Radsma, and I'm going to follow her as well. There are a couple of more people who followed me who I would suggest that they add profile photo. It is going to make yourself way more credible. What I would like to show you next is how we can do similar things as we are used to do on Facebook, which is liking, sharing. Twitter works a bit differently than Facebook in that regard. So I'm going to look back. I'm going to go back to my timeline. Actually, I'm already there, and I would like to show you what are the options that we can do. I'm going to try to find a tweet that I particularly like. Let's look at this tweet. It's funny and witty, and it's really critical of Transform Minister Mark Garneau. So far, if you look here, 5 other people liked it. 6 other people liked it. 5 other people retweeted it. Like is the little heart that you put on, for example, on Facebook. Retweet is more like share. When you retweet something, it becomes part of your timeline. So I'm going to first like this tweet. You could see, I'm going to again unlike it and back to liking it. You could see how the counter for likes has changed as I was clicking on it. Now, if I'm going to the retweet button, there are 2 different possibilities that it offers me once I click on it. I have a simple retweet and I have a retweet with comment option. They have different functions, and I've seen you retweet a number of things, and one of this confusion about this is what prompted me in part to do this session today, because retweeting is normally the best way to amplify a message that you already agree with. So I'm going to retweet this, and now the retweet counter has gone up. And if you go back to your timeline, you will see that this retweeted tweet is going to show up in your timeline too, because you are following air passenger rights. And now you can also retweet this by clicking on this button and retweet it. I've seen already the counter going up because others began to retweet. Retweeting with a comment is also sometimes advisable, but it is not going to increase the retweet counter. And when we are dealing with social media, the like counter and the retweet counter are both very important. They are not the only statistics that a person is going to look at, or that a bot is going to look at, because there are also bots that look for popular tweets. But likes and retweets are some of the 2 main tools for checking popularity, checking how popular a particular tweet is. And as we are talking, I can see now that the retweet counter is going up. Don't forget to like it too. So I would suggest, if you find something really great that you agree with it, like it and retweet it. A tweet that has gone viral, something that is being retweeted by everybody who is watching it. Now I see 60 odd people watching it. If all of you are going to retweet it, we are all of a sudden going to have a comment critical by Garneau has gone viral in just a matter of a couple of minutes. One more thing that you can do, and I'm going to do it here, is to click on the retweet button itself and look at who retweeted. Now, apparently, even when you retweeted, it seems to be counting now. In the past, it wasn't doing it. So I'm seeing here a number of people that I haven't followed yet. And this is also a great opportunity to decide whom I'm going to follow, because I know a number of people. I certainly know Terry. She's one of our wonderful volunteers. That's great. David Fowler, you don't have a picture yet, but I already know you. I've been in touch with you, so I can follow you. And Joanne Phillips, of course, I know you. We have been in touch. Janet Donaldson, very active member. Just please add a picture here, so I can. It is also an opportunity to add people who are of the same mind, of people with whom we can reconnect, and then hopefully they will also follow me back, and then each time I'm putting out a tweet, they will see too. Now, there's also a list here of tweets with comments that doesn't seem to be working too well. This is the reason why retweeting without a comment might be a better strategy. And now I see the numbers here rising and the retweets rising, and it's great. So this is the proper way of using retweets. Retweeting with a comment, it may be a bit more like each person shouting out a different slogan. When you retweet in a coordinated way, so there's one message and then 60, 70 people retweeting it, that is a way to be very, very loud and visible. There are actually some computers online, some tweet bots that simply trace which posts are trending, which tweets are trending, and those can be valuable tools as well for us, because if we manage to get 100 tweets, 200 retweets to a particular tweet, all of a sudden that retweet has gone viral. It will be picked up by bots that will then start retweeting it. So we can create a kind of chain reaction. Now in the notification here, let's just go back to a moment. Notifications, I'm seeing a bunch of more tweets being retweeted, and you can see here how people are now using those very efficiently. It's great. Following also Kathy. I'm already following Terry. Norm, follow Norm as well. So far we have been talking about liking, retweeting. They are both already very, very important tools, and it is also, we have spoken about following to ensure that what other people are saying shows up on your timeline, and then if you think, hey, that's cool, you can go and follow it. There are two more tools in our arsenal that we should add, which is hashtag and user tag. Let's go back, if I can, to Twitter we are looking at, and let's look at this. They put the writer of the tweet put this @ sign, which is used for email, and then Minister Garneau's Twitter handle. What this does is that when this tweet goes out, Minister Garneau's Twitter feed is getting a ping about it. It's going to show up that, okay, a tweet in which you appear was retweeted, or you are being tagged in it. And each time, if you go back to my notifications, each time someone retweets a tweet in which I mentioned, or Air Passenger is mentioned, I'm getting a notification. So you can see here, for example, Kathy Gibson Gates and 5 others retweeted a tweet you were mentioned in. So once at airpassenger.ca is in the text of the tweet, then every time it gets tweeted out, it shows up a notification, and it shows up as a statistical quantity. If someone takes this tweet, and let's see again how many it was retweeted by this point, 15 times. Let's just quickly go it. 16 times, 14 likes. Even though I'm not the author of the tweet, I'm not the target of the tweet, because I'm tagged in it, it is still showing up in my timeline, and I can see how much attention it is getting. And the author of this tweet very cleverly also tagged other players, other users, in this case news organizations. And this means that every time someone is retweeting this, they also get a ping. Some of those may be muting people, that's a separate story. But even then, when they go to look, when their social media people go on their statistics on their computer, they are going to see that that this tweet was very, very popular. So this was the tagging of a user. But let's see what else. And I would like now to respond. I received a question here a bit earlier, which I on purpose couldn't respond to because I want to wait for the right moment. And that was, we need a hashtag. And we already have a hashtag refund passengers. That's perfectly good. It seems to be, I'm going to click on this just so you will see what happens. And when you click on it, most stuff that show up are actually stuff from our group. Janice's video, Valerie's video, and Aaron's video, they are the top things that come up. Why? Because, for example, Aaron's video got 36 retweets, 38 likes. It shows that his tweet is popular, and therefore it comes up at the top. So that's a hashtag has this hash sign before it. And the hashtag refund passengers is quite a popular hashtag. When you look at the latest stuff that we've tweeted about it, we can just see here something from Iman Friel. This is probably from Europe, but right below it, Sharon Bennick, I believe that she's from our group. The name sounds very familiar to me. So the refund passengers seems to be very strongly dominated by the Canadian voices, by our group, which is great. And she also tagged Air Pass Rights, so that's why that was also showing up in Air Passenger Rights Twitter feed, Twitter timeline. And so hashtags is a way to identify your tweet as belonging to a particular subject. It's like a tag for indexing, that if someone is looking for a particular subject, for example, if a journalist is looking for all these people who are unhappy about their refunds not being issued by the airlines, then that's the way to go. So I'm looking here just randomly at it. This is probably not even from Canada necessarily. It is a nice tweet. I like it. It's not necessarily enough to retweet it, but I put it out there as a like. And for example, CJ Hayden seems to have been very active. So, she's not Canadian, but perhaps if she's being very active on this topic, you may want to follow her. Just have a look at her profile. I'm going to click on that. Let's have a look at her profile. And is she putting it out just because she wants to attract people, or is she going to put it out because she really supports her passenger rights? She's been putting out a few tweets. She's probably not from Canada, so I would not necessarily follow her. But if I saw that she was from Canada, I would probably follow her if she's being consistently commenting on this issue. I see her Matthew, and Matthew I think is followed by Louise Crawford, whom I already know very well. She has been putting out lots of good tweets, so I'm going to follow her as well. This is how some of the basics of Twitter work. But so far we have just been talking about amplifying our message, which is important. For example, I'm seeing now that Tennis Greystone retweeted something, and thank you, Tennis, for that. This is a tweet that came up, and I see that actually I haven't retweeted it yet, so I'm going to retweet it as well. And if you haven't retweeted it, you are welcome to do so. I'm not adding any comments. It's just a retweet, just to raise more awareness to this. People have been sharing their stories, and those stories, those videos are amazing. They have to be out there, so we can give a voice to those concerns. And I was getting lots of positive feedback on this from people, even from outside our group, who were saying that we are getting visibility. We are actually getting attention to these issues. So the only comment for Janice is, and I hope you don't mind, Janice, I'm picking at you as an example, is please add a nice photo here, a nice profile logo, because it is going to add a lot of quality to this post. It will show up then that way. But there is something more that we can do, actually way more, because what airlines have been doing is essentially trying to entice passengers to pay money and then not provide anything in return. That's not right. So let's have a look, for example, at what Air Canada is doing. Or Air Canada Vacations, or Rouge, or whichever. Let's pick Air Canada. And so they, of course, are putting out lots of promotion, and you can see also how frequently their stuff are being tweeted out and retweeted, possibly by hired people. But let's look at this tweet, for example. They are really trying to push things, or maybe this, um, about some food. So you can click on this sign here, and you can leave a comment there. And you can tell Air Canada, for example, hey Air Canada, how about providing passengers with refunds owed to them? Let's add some hashtags: Air, Travel, Canada, refund passengers. And to beef things up a little bit, I'm also going to add here a link to it, a link to our general information on the rights of people to a refund. I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to click reply. What this does is that whenever someone clicks on the response that I actually already see here from Dual Citizen, another active member of the community, and this is a beautiful profile too. It shows up in Air Canada's ads. So I would not retweet Air Canada's ad in this case, because the goal is not to help them to get more customers, but certainly putting their comment, or maybe posting their media article which says how many people are demanding refunds, is a good way to warn people before they fall for this type of advertisement, that not everything is as nice as it can be around Air Canada. And let's also have a look at tweets and replies, because some people tweet to Air Canada and they are quite upset, but Air Canada is just giving them the usual nonsense. So, for example, hi, make my trip. I had booked a flight with Air Canada via MMT from Toronto to Mumbai. The flight was cancelled by airlines and I still don't have received, and after submitting claims numerous times, please help me with refunds. So this is a tweet, I probably, it was in reply to something involving Air Canada. Let's show more replies. And you can see here that already others were commenting on it. Very well done. I am extremely pleased to see that. The point is to refer people in such situation to good information. So you can refer the people, victims of Air Canada in this case, to, for example, our group. So let's look a bit more at tweets and replies. They asked about baggage allowance. I still don't have my travel vouchers. Please assist. Perhaps you want to warn this person to get a refund. Our trip was cancelled. I've called and we have a credit. Today we get confirmation for just my 11-year-old to fly to Hong Kong by herself on Wednesday. Please help. Perhaps you want to tell her that you should insist on a full refund to the original form of payment. So when you go through the tweets with replies, you can also reach out to people who are not aware of their rights at this point and tell them that they can find help in our group, that they can look for more information on Air Passenger Rights website, and so on and so forth. So it's one thing to tweet out information yourself, and that way it pings to various media outlets, politicians, and so on, that you had something to say. Although, mind you, if you tag a politician 50 times a day, they may decide to mute you because it just pops up every time on their tag. It's not right. As a politician, they should be listening, but it is something that they may do. So tagging politicians, I would use it sparingly. Don't tag a particular politician more than a couple of times a day if there's not a major, urgent, immediate news. If there's an important news item, you may want to tag them. Rather, what you can do is, and we can look now up maybe WestJet as well. what we can do is look at the communications the airlines have been putting out, and same thing with Sunwing, and advise the public that the picture is not so rosy as they claim. So they make all sort of claims about how wonderful they are, but actually, well, they're not giving refunds. WedgeJet at least is giving refunds to flights to and from the UK and the US, apparently, and that has to be mentioned to their credit. But generally, they're still being very, very combative, not giving refunds. So, for example, when you see a post like this, once and one fee waiver is used, the original charge change policy of the fare class you booked would apply. You know, this kind of warning, it would be a perfect opportunity to respond to it that actually, if your flight was canceled, WedgeJet owes you a refund and don't accept vouchers. Just bear in mind that collective action wields a lot of power. And I would suggest that you follow WedgeJet. Actually, I'm not following them because I have too much feed already. But it is a good idea to follow WedgeJet, follow Air Canada, follow Air Transat, follow Sunwing, follow Sun Vacations. Look at all those various companies that are putting out messages, and make sure that you counter the messages with the truth. Now, Louis Crawford is asking, if you retweet someone's tweet and notice that they don't have hashtags, should we like tweet and then retweet with hashtags? It's a good idea, Louis. However, it's a question of how much you want to tweet the same message. Retweeting and liking is always a good idea. Retweeting then with a hashtag means that the same message will bifurcate. It will exist in your version as you retweeted. It will exist in their version instead of focusing the message on a single tweet that goes out. You know, it probably today it's a sunny day, so I'm not sure if with a strength of 70 people listening, we will be able to achieve things as effectively as we hope for. But I mean, we can let's do a bit of an experiment. I'm going to go to Air Passenger Rights website, and I'm going to open up this post, and I'm going to put out something about it. And we are going to create some hashtags with it. And then we'll see how much it can go viral and how quickly it will go viral. So let's put out here new tweet if it's going to work. This is the URL. Always put, another bit of advice is always put the URL at the end, put hashtags at the end, put the text at the beginning. So for example, Government of Canada must enforce consumer rights. Let's add here 6 consumer groups say. The title is very factual, very precise. The goal is not to be in anybody's face. This is the truth. Air Travel Canada refund passengers. That hashtag already is quite popular, and maybe that's a CDN Polo is for Canadian politics. And maybe we should add here some politicians who have been very supportive. Mr. Barcelot Duval, Nikki Ashton, Mr. Bachrach, Taylor Bachrach. Let's add also Todd Doherty. And perhaps if you know, maybe Andy Fillmore, he is MP here in Halifax, and because I've seen, I'm going to talk about it in a moment, but because I've seen some people in the Conservative Party not being sufficiently clear on this issue, I'm just tagging the Conservative Party as well to get a message to them that well, this issue matters to us a lot, and that the whole caucus should be prioritizing this. So this is just a sample tweet, and I'm going to tweet it out. So just to recap, these are the hashtags. These are the people whom I am tagging. And so I'm going to tweet it out. What I would like you to ask you to do is that it shows up right away in my timeline. What I'm going to ask you to do is to retweet it. So it will show up very shortly in your timeline, and make sure that you also like it and you retweet it. And let's see how many retweets we are going to get by the end of this call today, this live session. Let's see how many tweets. I'm going to leave this side open. Meanwhile, I'm going to go to my notifications. And let's see also what's happening there. I'm seeing here all the people who followed me, and I'm going to someone who already has a picture, and I'm following it back. I can see here that Carolyn Ann liked the tweet. I'm already following her. A tweet I mentioned in Carolyn Roach. Let's follow her too. So and I can start seeing now that 11 already liked. Actually 13. So now let's go back to this tweet, and I'm clicking on it, and I can see now the counters. We already have 16 retweets, 15 likes, and if 17. So if you keep working in a very short time, this tweet can go up to, if all 67 who are watching is going to retweet it, it's going to go up to 67. If it happens very quickly, then some bots may pick up on this. If we have people who are right now actually online and working on this, then probably after a couple hundred, the bots are also going to pick up on that. So this is a very powerful way, and I'm going to leave this open here just to see how the counter is increasing. This is an extremely powerful way of getting our messages out there. Now we are up to 26. I hope that my team will remind me to come back to this, because I would like to maybe give another minute or two for you to play with it and retweet things. But next time maybe we'll come back a little bit to learn how to be more effective, because there are various tricks. For example, with those wonderful videos that people put out, those videos can also be put as answers to Air Canada, WestJet, and Air Transat's ads. So if you have a video in which somebody is calling out those airlines, there is a way of posting them underneath their various ads. Now Marianne Pell is asking, I'm wondering if I'm doing something wrong. I liked it and retweeted it. Mark Canada 54. I'm not sure if you're doing something wrong. Let me see. I'm going now to look up who has retweeted so far. Marianne, let me see. So without comment, I can actually see here everyone who retweeted this. But I with the people whom I would much prefer to follow people who are actually have already a profile, and it's a good opportunity for me to actually see who is following. So I'm trying to find now. Let's see, Mark Canada. Yeah, so I can tell you, Marianne, that I can see that you retweeted it. You did everything right. So far things are looking good, and I'm going now to switch to covering other topics for today that I wanted to talk about, and back to my face now. So the next topic, which relates to this very closely, and that's why I mentioned already that you should follow your member of parliament, is that we need to continue to ask members of parliament to pursue this issue. The NDP and the Bloc Québécois, and to some extent the Green Party, to the extent they can, have been very supportive of this issue. we have also been seeing some support from the Conservative Party of Canada, from Todd Doherty. Just on the 17th, he spoke on this briefly in the House of Commons. But as far as I understand, the Conservatives are under a lot of pressure from the airline lobby to not speak on this issue, to just let it go or let the government do whatever they want, or just not take a strong pro-passenger, pro-consumer position on this. That pressure is, of course, coming from the airline lobby. And we need to support those members of parliament who are willing to speak out for us. This doesn't mean that you agree with their political agenda in every possible aspect. What I'm talking about is giving full credit to every politician who is willing to champion the cause of air passenger rights. This is why it was so helpful that so many of us publicly thanked Todd Doherty for his efforts when he raised on the 17th of June, because it was just last Wednesday, I believe. Because those kind of public acknowledgements help a politician, not only outside but also within the party, to go to caucus members and say, hey, you may disagree with this refund issue, but look, I got so much support for this from the public. My constituents want me to talk about it. People who are potential voters for the party want refunds. They want to pursue this issue. And it creates a much harder case for opponents to say, well, we don't care about you being reelected. We just want you to shut up and not talk about it. That's not going to go too far in a party type of situation. So this is the reason that I've already been hearing about attempts to call your MPs and email them. The time of the emails is over. Time to call them up. Time to call your MP. Leave them messages until they really get back to you, even possibly multiple times, and insist that they spend some time on the phone with you and explain to you why they think that you should be getting a voucher and not a refund if that's what they think. But more realistically, explain to you why their party is not on this topic day and night, especially if we're talking about the CPC. They certainly, I don't think that most CPC members agreed what the airlines are doing. So there seems to be some internal politics going on. I know they also have a leadership election in-house, which adds problems to them. That's a next task, next problem to deal with. I'm just going to ask here to. I've seen here something from the team, but Christine, I'm not sure what you meant by it. You just sent me a photo here, so I'm not sure what that refers to. If you can also text me, it would be great. So when you talk on the phone to your MPs, especially the conservative ones, you need to make 3 essential points. 1, when you speak to their office, demand that your MP, talk to you on the phone. Why? Because you are their constituents. Their salary is paying from your taxes. They are getting paid to ensure that you are represented in the House of Commons. So they cannot afford not to talk to you. And from a particularly conservative perspective, there are 2 arguments that you need to be dealing with. One is a simple rule of law argument. From a conservative perspective, it's an obvious truism that if the law says you have to get a refund, you have to get a refund. Now, some of the MPs may not be aware fully of the law, so you may want to be prepared. Look through the article that we have about different sources of delay of rights to a refund when your flight is cancelled, and be ready, be prepared with answers about the frustration of contract, about the APR, about the case law. All this as a one piece together, confirm that you have a right to a refund, and simply ask them, do you support the rule of law? Yes. Good. Then are you going to support passengers' right to get a refund? Yes or no? MPs need to understand that this is a critical thing for you. This is no longer about some abstract issue about values, about things here or there. But it is really an issue about your money, your wallet, something that affects you personally. The other issue that needs to be addressed is the typical airline whining argument. Oh, the airlines are so poor. Oh, the airlines need this money to survive. And the simple answer to that is that passengers are also poor. Passengers also need the money now. Passengers do need the money to buy food, to buy groceries, to pay bills, to pay for mortgages. So it is not like the airlines are anywhere worse than their customers. People are all in a bad situation, but it's an obvious principle that everyone must respect private property. We can have a different society, some form of socialism, communism, you name it, whatever they want to call it, in which it's okay not to respect private property because we don't believe in private property. But if the airlines don't believe in private property, hey, I want that 767 from the tarmac. It's mine now. Why? Because I think I need it. I maybe want to fly with it to visit my family in Hungary all by myself. Well, we don't work like that. And it's of course a good joke, but seriously, you cannot take what belongs to someone else. That's something that everybody learns when they're in kindergarten. It's not yours, it's theirs. You have to give it back, and the airlines have to do the same. It's something very, very elementary. Let's look back also for a moment at what's happening here in the Twitterverse. So we are up now, as far as I can see, to 38 retweets, 41 likes. That's absolutely fantastic. I'm just going to look here also at my timeline, what's happening here. So you can see here actually all the tweets, everybody who was commenting on this is some way showing up, and it's really wonderful to see so much activity. It's really, now I see here someone created a list with Mark Garneau. I'm not sure what that list is for. We're not talking today about lists. Just be careful not to confuse lists with actual users. But you can actually see here all the things that show up on my timeline because I'm following these people, and this allows me a great opportunity to respond to people and to if I'm seeing a great tweet, to retweet it because it's going to show up right in my timeline. I don't have to go elsewhere to search for those videos, for those messages. Let's go back now to talking about more issues relating to what the airlines are doing. Aeroplan has been trying to upsell passengers, and I hope that now Dominic will be able to put out a link to that. He already wrote an article about that. They are trying to put all sorts of additional sales deals to entice you to buy more aeroplanes, to spend your money, because they quite clearly need the money, but it's far from being clear that the goods behind it will be there. So whenever you see flights, good deals, be very cautious. I have two links that I collected here, and I'm wondering if you guys can put it out. One is about this Aeroplan 50% sale, where they're even giving you an extra when you buy some air miles. And the other is an article from Simple Flying about a number of people who got infected just recently, as I understand, because they were on a flight. I think it was a flight to Copenhagen. I hope it was something that Dominic sent me, so I hope, Dominic, you will be able to clarify it when you post it in the live chat for this video. And bottom line is, if you have a dying relative, perhaps you might want to fly because you have to be there and the risk is tolerable. Or if you're sure that they are terminally ill, you'd rather be there, even taking the risk. It's something to discuss with them and with your own conscience. But just for leisure, just for going on vacation, don't fly now. This is besides the financial aspect, which is also an important consideration, it is also far from being safe. Yes, the numbers are down. Yes, things are looking better temporarily. But when you look at what the World Health Organization's top expert has to say on the matter, the numbers worldwide are still rising. We are not over this. We are temporarily getting a reprieve. It's more like a warm spell during a hard winter. So anyone who is thinking about vacationing this year, think about your own province, very close to your home. Those are good ideas. Ideally, without traveling anywhere too far, without getting exposed to too many other people. Keep yourself and your community healthy and safe. That's the top priority. And it's very troubling, I'm finding, that those airlines are putting their profits ahead of the health and the interests of the traveling public, because they may be able to make a few bucks, so to speak, by selling you tickets and making you fly. But in the long run, if there's another outbreak, the cost for the economy is going to be tremendous. The same thing that we have seen now in the first wave of shutdowns, of isolations, could come back if the airlines are continuing this irresponsible upselling of flights that people don't desperately need. Last topic for today is about chargebacks. It's a constant topic. I am pleased to report some improvements with Rogers MasterCard. I have been in touch with MasterCard International. They have been very cooperative and passed on information. I've also been recently in touch with Roger MasterCard's high-ranking personnel who has some control over how chargebacks are being handled. They do come across as being interested in working with customers and giving you a good customer service. So it was very refreshing compared to American Express, which still seems to be in stonewalling everybody mode. With respect to American Express, we certainly do have an ongoing issue which I'm aware of. I'm still trying to deal with the people with the tightest deadlines, but American Express is on my to-do list. Remains a point of concern. I know that there are probably over 20 people in the rebuttal help queue waiting for help with that, but they don't have a fixed deadline. If you do know that you have a deadline with American Express, make sure to flag it for me, because when resources are scarce, in this case, the scarce resources, basically me typing out the letter, me helping with drafting a rebuttal letter, and I'm trying to take those kind of triage method like in a hospital. Those things are most urgent. People who have a deadline today, they will probably get the letter today, even though probably you have a deadline only tomorrow in practice. For people who have a deadline for tomorrow, that's my next most urgent thing. And there are people who have a deadline as soon as the 22nd, 23rd. So then there are people who have deadlines here on 26th or 28th. They are the next. And when everybody who has a deadline in the foreseeable future are cleared, then I have a bit of time to work on those cases that are not deadline tied. Especially with American Express, it's a matter for there's a systemic issue there, and we will have to find some kind of systemic remedies there, because I'm not happy with how they are not following the law. It's really a problem that they think that their job is simply to go back and forth between you and the merchant, while actually the law says in a number of provinces that they have a duty to reverse charges. They have to reverse charges. And they don't have any discretion. It's not up to the merchant whether they are declining the chargeback or not. It's your decision to seek a chargeback, and they have to comply with it and deal with it if you meet some basic statutory conditions. So that remains an ongoing concern. I just want to reaffirm that I didn't forget about Amex users. There is actually now one American Express cardholder who has already spoken to them and managed to reach to higher level investigators. He simply told them flat out, right, I'm not going to pay this amount. It's not a legitimate charge. You have to deal with the merchant. And that's really the way to go if they are going to play hardball. Or first, I would like to give them a chance to fix the situation, to give you back the money. But ultimately, if American Express or any other credit card for that matter is stonewalling you, and even after you provide all the documentation to show that you have to be given a refund, and their merchant is not providing you services, they are still not giving you the chargeback, I would suggest that clawing back the money from the next bill and refusing to pay and then forcing the credit card company to take you to court is the way to go. It's not an elegant way, it's not the way how things should work in a perfect society, but if the credit card companies are thinking that they can get away with breaking the law, they have a mistake. Because the difference between a credit card company and an airline is the continuity of the relationship. In an airline, you give them the money, then hopefully you fly, and if they don't give you the flight, then you have to get back the money. The credit card company, you have an ongoing relationship. Every month you spend some money. So you have an easy way of clawing back any amounts that they were supposed to give back to you just on your next bill. You spend down things on your credit card, and then you say, well, I'm sorry, but this amount has already been paid because that other chargeback was not handled properly. That other chargeback will offset this bill. Have a good day. That's the approach to take, and especially with American Express, if they want to become very combative, I think that we will have to be combative too. And remember that we are way more. They are just one corporation, and if there are hundreds or thousands of people refusing to pay illegitimate charges for tickets for air transportation they never received, those companies are powerless against you because you are stronger. Those rules work only as long as we all abide by them and as long as we all accept them. If they are not accepting it, we are not accepting it. And they are going to be ending up back. Maria is asking about insurance companies. Insurance is a really tricky matter. First, I'm not an expert in insurance. I don't even want to claim that I'm an expert. And with insurance, it's a different situation in the sense that you have an insurance policy, and whatever is in the policy, that applies. When I look at an insurance perspective, I would take the kind of general approach that with insurance, you have some level of onus to show that whatever losses you incurred is covered by the policy. Because an insurance is a risk-based transaction. You're paying a risk premium, but they don't have to cover every risk. For example, if you make an insurance, if say you're a pianist and your most important valuable assets are your fingers, your hands, and perhaps your feet because you for a pedal on a piano. But if you make an insurance which insures your fingers, your hand, maybe your feet, and then you end up with a cracked rib, you don't have to pay for the cracked rib because your insurance doesn't cover a cracked rib. It covers for your damage to your fingers, damage to your feet. So an insurance is a very different type of contract where it's very clear circumscribed what is covered and what isn't. When you look at airlines, what is easier, and vacation packages to that extent too, what makes things easier there is that in that case you did not receive back anything. It's not that you received back a partial product, you got back nothing, and you don't have to accept a voucher. With insurance, the insurance was still there because it covered you for some risks, that maybe just not maybe for the risk you want them to cover you for. So insurance, with the insurance business, I hope it may end up one day as a kind of class action, because morally, what the insurances are doing is not right. That's a no-brainer. But legally, it's not so clear. You would need to really dive into the exact language of the insurance policy, because if they say, for example, that if you can use your credit, if you get credit for travel that you can use later, then it's not a loss. If that's what the credit card language says, then you're stuck with it, and then basically maybe next time you take your business elsewhere, don't do this particular policy. So insurance companies are certainly not being nice about it, and you may want, on account of this, to change insurance policy and provider, insurance underwriter. But I don't see insurance companies acting as atrociously as airlines or as some credit card companies, which seem to be full of airlines. The There are some insurance policies in which case clearly their position is not defensible, but in some cases, quite possibly, I would be inclined to think that their positions may have some merit, at least would require further examination. I'm not willing or comfortable to just condemn the whole insurance industry as a whole. Now, my wonderful helpers and team is telling me that we are getting close here to the actually 1 hour and 15-minute mark. So I have not seen many questions so far, which is good. Maybe it was a different type of session, more focusing on Twitter and how we can take our advocacy to the next level, to the public sphere, than focusing on the issues that are right now happening. But I'm going to give it maybe another couple seconds and to see if there are any other questions. And one takeaway from this is that I heard you that you would like a list of people to follow on Twitter, and I'm going to try to do that probably shortly after this. And I'm just wondering, from one last chance for the team, Dominic, Christine, Terry, any of you still have an idea to anything that I missed, anything I should still be answering? There's one more question here from Joanne Phillips. Does anyone know if hotels received their share out of fare? It's a good question, and John, I don't have an answer to it. It's some companies, I expect, are going to act decently, and they are going to they have probably given back the money or never paid out. I'm not sure actually, so I really don't know the answer to that. There's also a question by Rachel Villatoro. After nearly 80 days, my credit card randomly rebilled me for an amount that wasn't even the cost of the trip. I had submitted all documents to them a month ago as per the request. When I called, they had no answers. How do I proceed? Rachel, it's a very simple answer. If they rebill you something which does not make sense, they don't have any answer to you, don't pay. And put it into writing. Write them a short letter. On date blah, you showed up transaction blah on my account. When I called on date X, you didn't have any explanation for me for its reason or its origin. I'm therefore declining this charge. And if you would like me to consider it or reconsider this, please provide me with clear explanation and supporting documents. Have a good day. Remember, maybe, Rachel, you're raising a point that I should emphasize again. With a credit card company, it's a loan. It's something that they say you owe, and it is based on you honestly paying it. Of course, if you just walk away from it and you are dishonestly refusing to pay, eventually they can take you to court. But it's not like the money in your bank account, which is an actual money you can take out as cash. Things on your credit card is more like a loan. And if they claim that you owe them more than actually you do, just don't pay. You know, if a stranger shows up at my door and tells me, well, you owe me $1,000, I'm going to tell them, well, sir, I think it's the wrong door. If they are being persistent, I'm going to call 911 and have them removed from my property because I don't think I owe them any money. So just because a credit card company claims you owe something, that's not the end of the story. They claim you owe them something, you claim you don't, you dispute it. Eventually, it will have to be a judge who decides who is right and who is wrong. If they want to go through that route, they want to have thousands of lawsuits possibly against customers, let them have it. They won't. They know that those things. What is happening here as the big picture is that the credit card companies, at least some of them, are trying to find out what is the path of least resistance, the merchant or you. And at least with American Express, it seems that so far they thought that the customer may be the path of least resistance, and they may be unpleasantly surprised that it's not the case because cardholders are going to fight back. Helen is asking, can you please talk about the legal action, the class action lawsuits? Helen, the last bit about the class action lawsuits is that in what I know is in a federal court, there will be a case management conference tomorrow, that's Monday, where hopefully the judge is going to set timelines for the next steps. This is the latest information I have. Of course, as you may imagine, the airlines all wanted to shut things down and all want first their various technical motions to be heard. And of course, the passengers side, the class counsel is arguing, no, let's have everything dealt in one hearing and let's deal with everything at a single certification motion. And I think probably tomorrow the judge is going to tell the parties what he thinks and where things are going to go. And let's hope that, like it happened in a number of cases before in class actions against airlines, the judge is going to say, you know what, let's hear everything in one punch, and is going to set relatively fast procedure deadlines which are in the near future. And when you talk about courts, we're talking about, you know, in a couple of months as opposed to in 2 years or a year from now. My sense is, based on what I heard, that the court in those the class action certainly is very much aware of the urgency, because it's an ongoing issue, an ongoing hardship for passengers, an ongoing dispute. So there is a need for some level of certainty for everybody's sake. The airlines need to know, the investors need to know, passengers need to know, insurance companies need to know, credit card companies need to know. Everybody needs to know what is going on. So I'm quite happy about how things have gone in the class action so far. And you know, if I may not be a happy camper tomorrow once I hear the results of what happened in the case management conference, the airlines essentially are trying to delay things, delay after delay, motion after motion, appeal and a motion. That's typical defense lawyer technique. When you have a bad case as a defendant, you just delay it. That's what the basic thing, you know, first a motion to strike, then challenge jurisdiction, then maybe bring a motion for summary judgment, which fails, and just try to slow down the procedure, hope that the plaintiff will give up, hope that the plaintiff runs out of money, hope that the plaintiff dies, hope that something changes, that maybe by that time they can get enough politicians to agree with them to change the law. All those sort of things happen. So as a corporate defendant, your basic stance is always to delay things. That's given. I'm going to give just a last tally before I bid you farewell, because I think we have gone a little bit over things here. So in terms of our Twitter, we have 46 retweets, and let me show you one more trick. I can actually retweet my own tweet, and that way an old tweet can show up as can show up again in my timeline. So our final tally is 47 retweets, 50 likes. Very, very well done. And of course, once you are watching this, you're welcome to replicate and maybe have those tweets go even more viral. Remember that in this day and age, Twitter can be as effective or even more effective as demonstrations standing out with signs. We can influence what is happening. We can send a clear message to our elected representatives, to the airlines, that the Canadian public does not accept what they are doing. They are not going to buy tickets as long as their money is not safe. They are not going to travel as long as they are not safe. And if the airlines want to continue this route, then this is a certain bankruptcy as opposed to a potential bankruptcy, as they claim, if they issue refunds. Because I think for every airline, it should be clear, and every travel industry player, that they can keep as much cash as they want. If the public is not going to start traveling again, they will be in trouble. So until such time as the public cannot feel that their money is safe with those airlines, they're not going to buy more tickets. And certainly personally, I encourage people not to buy any ticket, any airfare with any company that has a stain on its record of giving refunds. Those companies are not reliable. And, you know, banks have credit reports and credit score. Well, airlines have such credit scores in the eyes of the passengers too. An airline that is known for stealing public's money, that's what they have a low credit score. They should not be getting our money. I think that this is probably a good point to end this session. I don't see any more questions, which is good. Hopefully I managed to answer everything. And be safe, take good care of yourself, and we will see each other again either in 1 or 2 weeks, depending on how much material we have, how many more things happen, how many news we have. So have a wonderful remaining of the weekend, and be safe.